There are moments where the directors have visualized certain sequences knowing that in the theater they'll get an applause for this, but at home when you're watching it, it's an applause moment, but you're not generally into it like that. You're just watching it thinking, okay, nice moment. And this is the vibe that I am circulating to the people around me, whereas in the theater 15 people who would have applauded there would have passed that vibe on to 100 more people. So I don't know if um, um, I don't know if I'm able to express what I'm trying to say, and I don't know if it's coming across, but this is a theory that one has to really study. Is what I've been thinking and working on over the past like a month. When you're writing for the digital platforms, the writing has to be completely different. Now, obviously, in terms of episodes, if you're making a series, with the first season, and Queen really handled that well. I thought it was written by my partner Reshma, and we all got into the creative process at some point once the main writing was done and the translation into other languages and stuff like that, and obviously the filming. But there was a nice flow in terms of the episodical arcs. A beginning, then there was a middle, and then it want to leave you at a certain point and then pick up from that point in the second episode and stuff like that. And when you're writing, obviously for feature, this is very obvious stuff that I'm talking about. When you're writing feature, you don't have to worry about all this. There's always in Indian films, there's a starting point. You have to grab the audience and bring them into your characters and stuff like that, into your screenplay, and then you leave them at a sort of an interval point, which is unfortunate actually, but that's how we have to write our films. And then you take it towards, and then the second half opens with you can take your time about it a little bit, and then you bring it to a high sort of towards the end and leave them with the climax sort of a thing. So the writing style is completely different, and you can't write for a platform for digital content thinking you're writing for a feature film. That the styles have been completely earmarkedly different. So um, all this makes for interesting stuff, and I think being students and people who are youngsters, if you're into writing and if you're generally into film appreciation and looking at what sort of content is there, this is something that you should keep in mind right now. And trust me, I keep saying this again and again, content is everything. Without the writing, without the content, nobody can film. A filmmaker himself, I can go out with 70% of my story ready, a screenplay ready. I might not have it 100%, but I need that 70-75% to convince the actor and also to know what I'm filming. Otherwise, I'm just going to end up wasting money. I've never done that, but I've always gone on with a 75-80% script, also to see if the last 20% or whatever can change or flow according to how my characters have evolved with the screenplay and with what I've tried to create. And I take a lot from what something like that. But I really believe if it's in your control, if you're not wasting money and if you don't know what you're doing, as long as you know what you're doing, then it's really fine to write in that style. But it still boils down to content being everything, across feature films and across digital platforms. And especially now with the head honchos at the digital platforms, they're extensively looking at content. And I don't know if they're creative people on board, but they need to be sort of grabbed by the content that they're reading, right? They're looking at it as, if they're looking at it as a 2.5 hour film, then they're looking at, will an audience sitting at home, like I was talking to you about, get it, and not necessarily a 100-member audience in the theater. They're looking to see if a family or 3 people or 1 person sitting inside a house will get it. And if I'm doing a web series, then they're looking at the flow of every episode. So writing is very important, and I think a lot of focus should be put into writing, and lots more writers rooms should be set up, and a lot more writers are welcome and is sort of the need of the hour. And I know I started off by saying it's counterproductive and creativity is restricted sort of and all that stuff, but we are hopeful. I'm very hopeful that things will change drastically very soon, and we will get back to the system that existed earlier, but with a lot of changes. I think this will also evolve. Filmmakers will evolve with this change. Everybody is sitting at home and figuring out what to do, but they're all looking at change right now. And I think it's in that sense it's welcoming because change is good, right? Change all over. I'm saying even universally, this change happening all over with the way people are looking at life itself. This itself is a strange experience. This talking to I don't know who, right? My voice is being heard, and you can probably even see me, but I don't know who I'm talking to. Whereas if I'm talking to and I've done a lot of these, if I'm talking to a 500 member capacity audience filled with students, and I get that vibe naturally. Very automatically I get a vibe, and I know I'm addressing them, and I can see from the expressions that what I'm saying makes sense to them, or I can switch tracks and stuff like that. But here I'm talking into a sort of a void, and I really don't know if it's coming across. But then I'm hoping it will, and I'm pretty much a very confident guy, so I'm really hoping it will, come across. So we're all open to change in that sense, and we have to be, we have to adapt. We have to acknowledge the change that's going to happen. We have to know, with film especially, that we are in transition mode. We are going into some other mode right now. It's a little bleak as far as theater owners and distributors are concerned. Yes, they don't know. Initially, there was talk, even a lot of Hollywood films, the big ones, were announced in July, but they're all being pushed slowly by 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Everybody is gauging the situation, trying to figure out if there will be an audience. There's no point in releasing a big budget film and finding nobody's coming to the theaters, and there's distancing in the theaters and all sorts of things that one has to take care of. So we are in transition stage, and I'm hoping that things will get really better. But this change is good because it will open up a lot more things amongst creative people to see if we can try and acclimatize or sort of adapt to the change that's happening. And again, I have to remind all of you that if you're all writers, and if you're in the field of communication, and if you want to explore the possibility of becoming filmmakers or even editors or cinematographers, and in the line of filming and in that business, then school and college is really important. What you learn in college, and obviously just being in that environment, being with friends, being with teachers, completely streamlines you, and that's the kind of people that we'd like to come into the industry. Educated, professional, and people with a clear mind, who want to come in and make a difference. Communication is really important, and I keep saying this wherever I go. You will get 10 to 15 minutes to communicate to an actor or a producer about the vision that you have, and you need to communicate. Language is very important. Even if you're not great with the language, you need to communicate your script across. You need to communicate the idea that you'll be able to film this really well. And it's unfortunate that in this industry, a first-time filmmaker has to come with his own script. Nobody's going to give him a script to work on unless he's already there, with the big people, so to speak. So you need to write, and for that your content has to be strong. Your ideas have to be different. You need to have great vision, and your flair for for dialogues, and for your technique should be there. So all these are first important steps into becoming, filmmakers. Your writing and your ability to create a film, and also working with the filmmaker or on the production of one particular film with the producer is very important, I feel, more than actually learning, the theory of filmmaking. There are lots of books for that, and one can get into that, but